Hey Scott, hope you're doing well. So I'll start with this face-on view. Setup looks good, grip looks good. Just remember, I'll probably always pick on you about this, but I would splay the left foot open some amount, just because it does free up the hip on the downswing to be able to rotate without locking up your ankle and knee and all that sort of stuff. All right, so here we go. I know this is not a real swing with a real ball, but it's probably pretty close. So I've got no problem with that. And of course, from this view, I can't tell if you maintained your forward posture or not. That's something we'll have to kind of check on the other view. That looks pretty good. Lead arm's fairly straight, doesn't have to be super stiff. Good turn in the chest. Looks like a pretty good turn in the hips, okay? All right, so in transition, we're gonna see basically some beginning of probably a feel of shallowing with some body rotation and getting a P6. Of course, we can't really see the face, but you'd want to check and make sure it fairly resembles your bent over spine at 6. Then we get to 7, which is impact. Club's coming down, so that's good. I think your head's doing a little better because I think it used to be more over here, so that looks better. And follow through looks a little better because you used to be more, again, head over the left foot. So that looks pretty good. All right, so let's look at this view. Setup looks fine. We'll put a plane line in here, even though it's just not really a real swing. We'll see. So let's look at how the club behaves first, and we'll look at how the body behaves. So let's get that proper. All right, very nice. The club shaft moving up the plane. Face looks like it's matching the spine. That looks good. Club's pretty much parallel to the plane there, and there's your top. By the way, we'll have to discuss this back and forth. If the feel of shallowing is still somewhat strange or elusive, I would tell you a good feel for some people is to maintain all the body parts in the same position you have it here, but make the shaft stand up more, which if you ever played any backyard baseball or softball, you know most ball players have the bat fairly vertical, and then it kind of falls down as they rotate the bat over home plate with their body. That might give you a better feel of a difference of what you have to achieve. But for now, we're going to leave that alone until you give me some feedback on that. So we would say, okay, shaft looks great. Okay, shaft is definitely shallowing. And from here it'd be exactly on plane and pretty much on plane to the ball. So we go, okay. How are you moving? The club itself looks pretty good. So now let's look at what the body does trying to do that. And let's just do a little couple checks here to make sure nothing's going wrong. Okay, so the illusion of forward bend is being maintained. And we're definitely maintaining the tush on the line to the ball. Okay, so that how the spine functions from this perspective looks pretty good. So now if we start watching the body and the club move together, you go, okay, that's P4 for you. 5 would be when the lead arm's parallel to the ground, which would be about there. Okay, the hands are still behind the neck, which is good. but the hips and the knees are not moved much at all. Okay, so that's probably where you're gonna have to work a little bit. I know you've most likely been only concerning yourself with the shallowing feel, but like I said in my email, we would like to have that blend together so that eventually it becomes kind of one cohesive move. So I'd say club's moving pretty well, body rotation's a little late, because when you get to 6, well, what I like at 6, shoulders are facing the target line. Hips are a little behind, but otherwise that's much better than what I remember you looking like at impact, because before I think you were under rotated. You looked like you had almost the left side bend at impact, so that looks pretty good. Of course, you can't follow through because the net, I understand, limited space is not fun, but pretty good all in all. So what I'll do in this video is just show you kind of my, what you might call easy way to think of how to shallow, and then you can get back to me on anything I've talked about or anything I will talk about from this moment on, and then we'll go from there. So long story short, so far I'd say if you're only working on shallowing, you're doing great. If you want the body rotation to start catching up, then that would be your point of focus. So obviously I'm doing this with one hand because of my left arm, left shoulder is horrible, but let's say I could get my left hand on the club from there. Basically in your mind you would be feeling that position as well, and you go, okay, basically my right thumb points at my right ear. So in the transition, what I have to do is get that right thumb to start pointing behind me, which is going to feel perhaps like the whole forearm kind of rotates to your right, which may look something like that right there. Okay, so now my right thumb's pointed behind me, which if you follow the motion of the club, it's pointed at the screen. Now it's pointed outside the ball some amount, and that's kind of an arms only shallowing, which is really the best way. Some people will shallow with right side bend, which is really not good. Of course, there are always going to be a few tour players who do things that we would say are not ideal, but they can do it. So there, now what did I do? I kind of twisted my hand around, or put my brain in my right thumb and go, okay, right thumb's pointing at your ear, right thumb's going to point behind you. That's going to kind of spin your arm like the beginning of a sidearm throw, and as I'm doing that, I'm going to point or rotate my body so that my entire knees, hips, and chest pretty much point at the golf ball, which would be about right there. So that'd be P5 without the left arm on there. And from there, I'm going to continue the rotation all the way to 6, which would be right about there. And so now my shoulders look a little bit open to the line because my left arm's not on the club. You can see what I call 2 cheeks even before impact. And somewhere there would be 7 or impact. So now I'm going to do it a couple more times and let you see it. So if I was only practicing that alone, that would be the feel. And you can see how the shaft goes kind of from somewhat vertical to a more horizontal condition. And then when I put body rotation in, it doesn't look that bizarre. If I put my left hand on the club, that'd be about P5 for me because I'm horribly unflexible. Rotate the chest and hips now to 6. Chest is facing the ball. Shaft is parallel to the target line. Face, as you can tell, is somewhat slanted, similar to the body. And hips are open. Okay, and so from there, that'd be a good stopping point for you to get to. And then we'll do a quick comparison of your 6. So we go, okay. Basically, again, kind of the thing for today is you did a great job with shallowing, but the body's a little bit behind, okay? And we get you to 7. And let's see if we can get me to 7 with this two-handed drill. So at my 7, right heel's off the ground. Right knee looks the same for both of us. Hip rotation is starting to match up. Your right arm's more bent. Awesome. Torso looks about the same. So I'd say be a little bit aware of this, okay? Still the right toes being off the floor. The right heel should be off the floor, some amount. Depends on flexibility. But that's just something I caught when I was watching you versus me, okay? So what you could do, because I know you don't want to stand there every night and never hit a golf ball, is kind of go through this like I've just done. You can do it with 2 hands since you're more flexible. Get all the way down to 6. If you've got a mirror back here, check it. If not, I don't know what you have. But there's a new app called Mirror Vision. It's $30 for a year. If you have an iPad, you can put it right there so you can see what you're doing. You put your iPhone right here on a tripod, sync them up. I think it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It's basically a mirror. You can draw lines. It's a wonderful app. That way you could practice without having to look to your right and not invest in a $400 mirror unless you already have one. But basically what you could do from here, and it's hard to do because you'll see I'm going to try to go, okay, hit the ball from 6, but my brain's going to back up to about 6 3/4. But basically you could start hitting little shots and just feeling that from here to the ball is just body rotation, okay? So the moral of the story for this lesson, which you're welcome to send me feedback and questions, of course. Shallowing looks pretty good. Body rotation needs a little bit of work. Then you can start to filter in getting these movements with actually hitting some foam balls. Film a couple, check it, and then that way you got nearly instant feedback of what you're doing or trying to do versus what's showing up, okay?